Namaste and hello there. My name is Abhijit. This is fourth part of our SQL Server Administration series. In the last session, we have seen prerequisite to install SQL Server. Today, we will see step-by-step installation of SQL Server 2016. Installation process. We will follow below 3 steps to have SQL Server on our computer. Download setup files, install SQL Server, and then we will configure SQL Server. To download setup files, let's go to Google and type SQL Server 2016 Evaluation Edition. Click on the first link from Microsoft. Here we can see Evaluation Edition of multiple versions of SQL Server currently available in the market. We cannot see SQL Server versions whose mainstream support is ended by Microsoft. For example, mainstream support for SQL Server 2012 Service Pack 4 was stopped in July 2017 and end of extended support will be July 2022. So here we can see only current supported versions of Microsoft. SP3, SP2, RTM are current versions of respective editions available in the market. RTM is released to manufacturing version, which is first copy of any SQL Server. Then Microsoft periodically releases bug fixes or enhancement in terms of service packs. Since SQL Server 2017, Microsoft has stopped releasing service packs. We have discussed about RTM hotfixes service packs in detail in previous session. Please click on I button in case you would like to go through that video. So current version of SQL Server 2016 is Service Pack 2. Let's expand SQL Server 2016 with SP2 and select exe as a file type to download. Click on Continue. You will be asked to complete this form. Fill up any details you want here and click on Continue. We have entered the details in required fields. After clicking Continue, your download of exe file is automatically started. Let's go to Downloads folder. We can see our .exe file is downloaded. SQL Server is nothing but an exe which has its own built-in operating system to manage database engine, so it is called as server. SQL Server is very easy to install. Just agree to terms and conditions and click next like you install any other application in your smartphone. But we should wisely select configurable options to install SQL Server as per our need. So we will understand installation step by step. Let's double click on exe. Installation asks us to select installation type, which is basic, custom and download media. If you click on basic, it will automatically start installing SQL Server with default configuration. In the custom, you can start installation right away, but you can choose which components of SQL Server you want to install on your machine. Third type is download media. In this, you can download SQL Server setup files and install them later as per your time. Or you can copy these setup files on another computer and install SQL Server on that computer. For demo purpose, we will first download setup files and then install them on our machine. After clicking on download media, installation has brought us on this page to ask which package we would like to download. Click on ISO because it is easy to retrieve files from ISO file type. Select the location and start download. As you can see, setup is around 3 GB. Let's open the folder. Here we have our ISO file of SQL Server 2016 SP2 for 64-bit. Let's double click on it. It opens all the downloaded files, and here we can see setup.exe file of SQL Server 2016. Let's start the installation by double clicking on setup. SQL Server Installation Center is open. Let's click on installation. Here we get different types of installation. For example, new SQL Server standalone installation. Then we can install only SQL Server Management Studio, that is SSMS. We can install only SQL Server data tools to work on reporting services, analysis services and integration services. We can also install cluster, or we can add node to existing cluster. But for now, we want to install new SQL Server standalone. If you look at here, we can add features to an existing installation, which means we can install multiple versions of SQL Server on single computer. But currently, we do not have any version of SQL Server installed on our computer, so we will install new SQL Server. Now it will ask us to provide product key. But as we are using evaluation edition, so we do not need to enter any product key. In case of enterprise edition, we need to enter product key here. So let's keep evaluation and click next. Here accept the terms and conditions and click next. On Microsoft Update page, if you click on this checkbox, then setup will online check for any updates. But currently we do not want to check for any updates, so we will just click on next. On install rules page, SQL Server checks whether system has necessary components ready to install SQL Server. So these all should be passed or check for any warning. Click on next. Feature selection page. This is one of the important page while installing SQL Server. We should select the components we want on our machine. Once you start making selection, here you can see setup will show how much space will be required to install these features. If you want to practice on SQL Server, then just select all and it will show you a required disk space which comes around 8 GB. I'll only remove Polybase query service for external data from this selection. Polybase is a new feature in SQL Server 2016. It is used to query relational and non-relational databases, that is NoSQL databases. You can use Polybase to query tables and files in Hadoop or Azure Blob Storage. So currently we do not need Polybase query service, so I am skipping it. You can see now required space for setup is around 6 GB. Let's click on next. Feature rules. Feature rule checks if there is any blocker in the system which can block installation process. So status for all features should be passed here. If anything fails, then installation will not progress further and you will not see next button enabled here. Let's click on next. Instance configuration. An instance is a collection of SQL Server databases run by single SQL Server service. So for every instance, there is separate SQL Server service available on the machine. We can have only one default instance on one machine and multiple named instance on the same machine. There is no difference the way SQL Server functions with default instance and named instance. The difference is just of nomenclature. Let's say I want to create instance of my name. So I'll just write down my name and instance of my name will be created for this SQL Server. But for demo purpose, let's just keep it as default. Click next. Server configuration. This is the consolidated list of services which are being installed on our machine. We can change account name from which you want to run that service or just keep it as it is. We can also change startup type from manual to automatic or disable the service from here itself. We will keep this also as it is and click on next. Database engine configuration. Security is the key aspect of SQL Server. So there are two authentication modes available in SQL Server through which we log in into SQL Server. They are Windows authentication and mixed mode. Windows authentication uses Active Directory users or users available on your system, whereas mixed mode, that is SQL Server authentication and Windows authentication, both are included in mixed mode. Apart from Windows authentication, we can manually add some logins into SQL Server, and those logins are called SQL Server authenticated logins. We will see these things in detail in later sessions. So to log into the SQL Server, we should at least have one user which can logged in as an admin into SQL Server. So we will just add current user here. This is my computer name and this is user through which I'll be logging to SQL Server once it is installed. We can add other user if we want to, but for now we will just click on next. While feature selections, we have selected analysis, reporting and distributed services. Let's add current user here as well so that we can log in into analysis services after installation completes. Let's click on next. Reporting services configuration, let's keep it as it is. For distributed replay controller, let's add current user. We will discuss about these things in coming sessions, so no worries about it for now. Click on next. Let's specify controller name here. I'll just specify the name of the login as the name of the controller here and click on next. Let's accept the consent to install Microsoft R Open. Click on next. Ready to install. This window will provide us the configuration we have selected till now. Just go through it once and make sure you have selected all the features you wanted and click on install. It will take half an hour to 1 hour as per system configuration on which you are installing SQL Server. So let's wait for it to complete. So our installation is completed successfully with product updates. Let's close it. Since SQL Server 2016, SSMS is not a part of feature selection which we have selected during installation, but it is a separate entity which needs to be installed separately. And here, if you remember, there is option of installing SQL Server Management tool. So let's click on that. It will take us to the Microsoft portal from where we can download SQL Server Management Studio. Let's save it. Let's save. As we can see, it is the size of 535 MB. So in previous versions of SQL Server, SSMS was part of features which used to install automatically with SQL Server installation. But since SQL Server 2016, it is a separate entity. Download is completed. Let's run our setup. So it is showing location. This is default location where SSMS will get installed. So let's click on install. So our SSMS setup is completed. Let's close it and open SSMS. So this is how our SSMS login window looks like. This is the username which we had added during installation as a user to login SQL Server. And this is our authentication type which we selected. So let's just connect to this instance of SQL Server. So this is how our SQL Server instance looks like. Here is the server name. Here is version of SQL Server. SQL Server 13.0. something. SQL Server 13 means SQL Server 2016. And this is the user through which we have logged into this SQL Server. As we know, this is default instance of SQL Server. Let me show you if it is the named instance, then how would we have connected? Let's try connecting it again. So we can connect to default instance by just providing name of the server. But let's say we would have created a named instance like an instance name as Abhijit. So we would have written down here the name of the instance as we stated. So that instance would have connected like this. But there is no difference in the functioning of SQL Server whether it is default instance or named instance. So this is all for today. In the next session, we will see configuration of SQL Server. In that, we will take a journey of SQL Server Configuration Manager. But before understand SQL Server Configuration Manager, we must know about SQL Server architecture so that it will be easy for us to understand this configuration manager and how SQL Server input and output system works. So in the next session, first we will see SQL Server architecture and then we will start understanding SQL Server configuration manager. So this is all for now. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, stay happy, stay blessed, keep learning and take care.